Welcome to the Josh Hall Web Design Show. Helping you build better websites and create a web design business that gives you freedom and a lifestyle you love.
Welcome, friends, into episode 164. Whew, I am pumped, to say the least, about this episode of the podcast because we are going to take a deep dive into a topic that I find fascinating and I have a little bit of experience in, which you'll hear about, and that is being a husband and wife partnership in a web design business. And if you have ever thought about bringing your spouse into your business, whether it's your wife or your husband or whatever it looks like in any capacity, you can imagine there are some things to iron out and to figure out and to make sure you are prepared for if it's going to end successfully and if it's going to be a fruitful, successful relationship. My guest in this episode has done an incredible job at managing her business, growing her business, and as you'll hear, bringing her husband in, not only in a part-time role, but full-time into the business. This is one of my awesome students, Lisa Williams. She's also a founding member in my coaching community, which is my web design club. So I've got to know Lisa in there firsthand, and I've got to see her business grow. And what's funny is she joined the web design club, and then she brought her husband shortly thereafter in full-time to her business. So I've watched this progress, and she has done just an incredible job at managing both, being a web design business owner, but also having a spouse involved with it as well. This conversation, we dive into how she's done it and how she's done it successfully. Now, as I mentioned, I have a little bit of experience in this. For those who don't know, my wife, Emily, was a part of my web design business for a little while. She was in more of not a subcontracting role, but I brought her in on some admin work, and she used to send out monthly reports for all of our clients. So she never had interest, and we both realized that she was just going to help out with the business. She was never going to be a true business partner. And when we started having kids, she became a full-time mom, and it ended up really well. It ended up being great that I just was able to have her assist. Now, if I were to bring her in full-time in my business, it would have taken a whole different strategy, a whole different approach. And Lisa, again, has done such a good job with this. So for those of you who are interested, either right now or maybe in the future, with having your spouse be a part of your web design business, you are going to love every second of this episode because we dive into tactics, strategies. We talk really in depth about life and work balance, particularly when you work from your home. And can you imagine if you work in the same office, which is what Lisa and her husband Steve do? And I mean, I'm sure your brain is just like mine and thinking, how do they do it? How do they do this? How do they turn it off? How do they work well together? How do you have a marital fight and then, put your work pants on for a little while? There's so many questions I had that we dive into this episode, and I know are going to empower you if you're interested in having a spouse in your business. And I do want to say, I'm kind of making some jokes in here stuff, but in all honesty, it's awesome to have your spouse be a part of your business. There's nothing like being able to do things together. And as you'll hear in this episode, for Lisa to have somebody who understands what she goes through and who understands the clients, there's a lot of reasons you might want to consider this. So that's one reason I'm extra excited for you in this episode. Now, one thing that's really interesting before we dive in is that Lisa and Steve, their business model is really largely focused around hosting and maintenance. And if you have not started building recurring income and making clients for life through hosting and maintenance, I want to encourage you to do that now. Obviously, yesterday would be great, but now is the next best time. And if you don't have a maintenance plan set up for your business, I want to help you guide you through building, setting up, and launching and selling your maintenance plan. You can do that with my website maintenance plan course. It's available right now for you. So if you have not yet started your maintenance plan, or if you're ready to take yours to the next level and help it actually be a really good recurring income source for your business, join that today. It's open, and I am so excited to get to know you and help you launch your own maintenance plan, just like my guest in this episode, Lisa, has done to great success. And without further ado, here is Lisa. We're going to talk about what's behind a husband and wife web design business. My gosh, get ready. Pop some popcorn. If you're going for a walk, take it with you. Enjoy, because this one was awesome. Here we go. Lisa, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for spending some time with us here today.
I'm stoked.
You You're awesome, Lisa. It's been really, really cool to have you, first of all, in my web design club, because that's given me the opportunity to be able to oversee you and your business and get to know you better and to see what you and your husband are doing together in your business, which is, I know, is the topic of today. We're going to talk about how to do work and balance that with a spouse, whether they are, whether you're full-time into the business or whether it's just a part-time kind of thing, or if you have your spouse help out. So It's been awesome seeing what you've done with your business. I'm really excited to dive into this.
Thank you.
Before we dive in, I do want to say thank you, by the way, too, because I still have the little gift that you sent me. We're recording this in the new year, right after Christmas. And for those watching, Lisa is a Friends fan. You'll see that because she's wearing a Friends sweatshirt. My wife and I watch Friends pretty much, almost every night it's on at some point. So she sent me a Central Perk sign. I'm going to put this in my new office for sure for right now.
I love it.
I'm going to put it behind us just for everybody watching this interview on you. There we
mine
go.
Up just a little bit. I've got mine right there up there for everyone watching. Yeah.
So we each have a Central Perk sign. So we know this is going to be good. I literally just kicked my family picture off while I put that on there. So all right. So now that we're set, we've got our Central Perk signs on. Yep. Why don't we start off, Lisa, first off, where you're based out of? And I'm curious, if people ask you what you do you tell them that your husband is involved in the business, or how do you go about that?
Yes. Full transparency. Sometimes I do forget because I'm still so, it's me. He's so much in the back end kind of, that sometimes when I'm just kind of talking, but I have gotten more used to saying my husband and I, or yes, I do this and my husband does this. So we're based out of San Antonio. My husband's name is Steve, and I started the business in 2019 after my mom. So our name Jolie comes from a combination of my mom's name, which is Joanne, and my name. So 4 or 5 years ago, my mom and I were going to do an Etsy creation shop. And she was going to do some crafts and I was going to kind of do some crafts, and we had to come up with a cute name. And so we were going to name it Jolie Creations. Well, that never got off the ground. My mom passed in January of 2019. So it's coming up on 3 years. And so after all of the dust settled, and I was like, okay, I have to figure out what I want to do, because what I was doing wasn't really working for me. I was more of a life coach. I was a practicing hypnotist and that. And so once I figured out that I wanted to do kind of more technology, I've always been into technology. And so I wanted to do that, but I didn't know exactly how. So I started out as a virtual assistant. That's what I was going to do.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I started out just doing I can set up your email marketing. I can do your website. I can do this. I can do that. I can kind of put all the pieces together. But I was just going to assist other people in doing that. But coming up with the name, that's where it landed. My best friend actually came up with it. And so that's where it came from. And I first was Jolie Virtual Solutions because of the whole VA type thing. Quickly changed it to design, quickly realized that, no, I don't want to be dabbing into everybody else's tools and stuff because, so anyways, that's kind of where it originated from. But my husband wasn't a part of it in the very beginning. He was doing his own thing and working, and I started it. And I actually started designing with Squarespace because that's what I knew, and quickly switched out of that when a client still with us today came to me and asked me if I would work on her website. She had some things, whatever, and it was WordPress. And I was like, tried with all my might to get her to come to Squarespace with me. And she kept, no. And once I got in there and started working on her site, and it was converted. It was on Elementor, but still, and I knew WordPress enough to know that there was a learning curve there for me, but I wanted to help her out. And so that's really was the catalyst. After I worked on her site, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to switch right now. I have to go WordPress. I have to, because I was so limited with Squarespace. And so
right.
I still thank her for being the catalyst for me. And then was the whole like, well, how am I going to do this when I don't have a place to build the website?
Yeah. So you started with Word, which I didn't realize the business wasn't that old. It's only 2 years at this point, at the time of us talking.
It'll be 3 in April.
Or I'm sorry. Yeah. 3, because we're in 2022. Yeah. So,
yes.
Wow, that's awesome, Lisa. So getting into WordPress now, I'm curious, were you with your husband, Steve, because in the beginning, like I said, you're kind of learning tools, you're experimenting with what you're going to do with your services, which is really common. That's the thing about web design. And you are really what I would label a webpreneur, because you're not just a web designer. I know you have a mind for strategy and branding and copy and all the things that make us a little more than just a web designer. And a lot of folks in the web design club like yourself are webpreneurs. Actually, I think everyone in there is pretty much a webpreneur.
I like that name.
Right? It's kind of cool. Actually,
I think you made up names.
No, actually, I'm going to give credit to one of our newest members, James. Shout out to James, who has his profile labeled as a webpreneur. And I was like, I like that. Because I was going to say web entrepreneur, but that's a mouthful. So webpreneur, there it is. We're going to coin that one if it's not coined already. Going that route. But you are that, Lisa. You are a webpreneur. So you're refining all these services. When did the idea come into play that you would bring in Steve? And how long have you guys been married? Because I'm curious about how that all started.
Well, 22. We just celebrated our 22nd anniversary.
Okay, so you guys been married for a while. So it wasn't like you were newly married, learning who each other were. Just trying to figure each other out and then bring it. So I brought my wife into the business in our first year of marriage. Although, like I said, she was more she just kind of handled some administrative stuff. It wasn't like a business partnership kind of thing, which is completely different. And I'm sure we'll talk about the difference between somebody being heavily like a partner in the business versus just somebody who you kind of have as almost like a husband or a spouse subcontractor, which is kind of interesting in itself. So
yeah, that's kind of
odd. Right. So take me back to the first time you thought like, maybe Steve could help out with this. Was it your idea? Was it his idea? Tell us about that.
Yeah, it was. Well, so when I said I switched to WordPress, and then I was trying to figure out like, okay, well, I knew enough and I knew enough about websites and the whole kind of digital space because I'd been in it for so long. Even as a former teacher, I'm a former teacher. I did a lot of technology in my classroom with my kids in elementary school. So I've always kind of had that knack, but I thought I need a place to have this website. So I went online. I was like hosting WordPress websites. Well, you just can go down a rabbit hole. We know that. And so I settled on Flywheel.
Okay.
And so I started, I was like, okay, this is great. All that comes in with that. I can do the hosting and the maintenance, keeping their site up. I can design it. I can do all these things. And so I started doing that. But then I grew to a point where I thought, it wasn't astronomical, but I thought Steve could do this piece, like get into Flywheel and like update the plugins and maintain, which was very basic given that it was Flywheel because they're managed, they do a lot for you, right? So I thought, let's do that. So he was still working part-time.
And what was his background prior to this?
Well, he has quite the background. He's a family business that he came from, a family cheese business. I don't think I said did I say we're in San Antonio? But we've been here 11 years, almost 12 years, but we were both born and raised in Michigan. So
okay.
Go Blue.
I was wondering, I saw you said Go Blue recently. I was wondering where that came from.
Yeah. So we were born and raised in Michigan. So that's where his family business still is, but that's where he worked there, was into the technology, did a lot of IT work. So I knew that he could do a lot of that more technical stuff.
Gotcha.
And I got to a point where I was like, not that I can't do it, especially with Flywheel, and we'll get to where we are now in a minute, but especially with Flywheel, I could do it, but I thought I could do more of this stuff. And then he can take care of that, where I can not only get to more clients and design more, but to learn more about the design and strategy and conversion and all of that goes into it.
That, Lisa, is so crucial. What a like profound mindset you had there. I don't know if that was a mindset shift or if it was just something you had, learned about or where that came in for you. But that is a really, really important thing to go through when you realize I can do this, but my talents and the business needs me elsewhere. So hats off to you. That's a really what if you had delayed that for like 3 years? Where would the business be if you would have just kept your head down and just done all the things that maybe you can do, but you shouldn't do?
Yeah. Yeah. And well, thank you. I didn't think it was a natural shift for me because I was so into the designing and I saw there was so much need for a good design and a good strategy with the website, not just a website. Yeah. So I wanted to learn more. And it was right about that time. I'm trying to remember when I took your business course. That was my first course. The big everything business course. Yeah. That was the first one. And I can't remember if he was already doing or if I was kind of in the middle of the course and then he came in. I can't remember exactly that timeline, but it was going through that coupled with I want to learn more to give my clients more and future clients more.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it was in September. We had been talking about him coming full time, quitting the part-time. He was delivering pizzas for Papa John's. So,
oh, no kidding. And was this in 2019 or was this 20?
He was working there in 2019, but it was 2020 when in September when he quit, October-ish when he quit. Yeah. So we started talking about it because I was still doing, so it was about a year that I was with Flywheel. I was doing the stuff and I was to that point. That's right. I gotten a couple good clients and I thought, I really want to kind of split off from this like techie stuff. Yeah. And like I said, with Flywheel, it wasn't that difficult, but I still wanted it off my plate. And so he started dabbling around a little bit, but we thank the lady that hit him, broadsided him in the parking lot as he was leaving, because the lady was pulling out of a drive-through. It wasn't fast. It wasn't an injury, but crashed the passenger side door. And the car was an older car. And, pizza delivery, you just beat your car.
Sure. Yeah.
And so we were like, do we fix it? Do you go, and we're like, no, this is our sign. Let's just do it. So we did it. So he didn't go back. Wow. He used my car for a couple of weeks to finish out, put his 2 weeks in, used my car, which is our car. But I had a newer car,
So him getting wrecked into was the impetus of him joining the business. That's wild.
Yes, because we do we do it? How you go through that decision and you're just and we live with my best friend. We've been best friends since high school, over 30 years now. And we live with her and
so the risk wasn't didn't have as much risk to be able to make that happen.
Yeah. That's a big part of why we can kind of move and shake and kind of do these things because of that comfortable. I mean, we help her and all that, but it's not as, we don't have a mortgage and things like that right now.
Yeah. And that is a biggie when it comes to any sort of spouse arrangement with business is you have to evaluate the risk. And it's going to be different for everybody. Not everybody is going to have to go through a car wreck to decide this is the sign that we're going to do this. But thankfully Steve was all right and all that. So that's really interesting. I didn't know all that. But now it's all coming back to me, Lisa, because you I launched the Web Design Club. I did the soft launch in October 2020.
I was in there.
You were, I think, one of the first. I think you were maybe the third or fourth member. So that's awesome. And I do remember, now that I'm thinking back, I remember you saying that your husband, I think, had just joined or was in the process. And you were linking him in.
It was November 2020, I think. November.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so he had just quit and we were just laying things out and how's this going to work? And So yeah, it was around that time.
So take us through those first few months, because this is fascinating for me.
Okay.
Because again, my experience with working alongside a spouse in business is my wife, Emily, I had her join basically as a virtual, not a virtual assistant, but just an admin assistant. She did all of our managed WP updates for our monthly plan, all of our client reporting and some admin stuff. And she was babysitting part-time and stuff as well. So it was more of, again, kind of a subcontractor role. So the cool thing about that though, is she knew client names and she knew about projects that were going on. And I loved that. Before we talk about these first few months, do you like that as well? Like, is it nice to have a spouse who knows a little bit about what's going on? That way
we
you
know
don't
our
just
clients by name.
Yeah,
we know our clients by name. I'm like,
there's nothing worse than wanting to chat with your spouse and they're just like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And it was, and not to go too far into this, but being that client relationship that we both have, we recently, in October, one of our A clients tragically passed away. That's
right. Yeah.
Passed away. And in A clients, I refer to what you call ABC, but we enjoy all our clients, but she was very, very special to us. And her and I did a lot of work together. And so it was very much, Steve and I were able to process that together and go through that. And we were both affected by it. It wasn't, he was trying to comfort me or vice versa. It was, we were both affected by that. So yeah,
that's a good point. And I remember because that was so recent that happened. And I think that happened just after one of my agency's A clients passed away.
Yes.
The swim coach that I worked with, and my wife knew him a little bit. I think she had met him maybe once, but I told her when I found that out, he was an older gentleman, but he was recently retired. I mean, he wasn't that old, and he died of a very quick bout with cancer. And I heard the news and I was like, babe, did you see that Bill Wadley died? And she was like, no way. So I kind of felt that as well. She was able to kind of, we were able to talk about that together because she knew a little bit about him. And so that is an interesting, I don't want to, take us on that path too far, but that is a really good point that when you work with your spouse, you get to share some of those other feelings that come along with business, because business is people and you develop relationships with your clients.
We're very close. I mean, some of our clients are a little bit more distant just because of the nature of what they're doing, and they're set and, but quite a few, I mean, we're very, very close and very involved in what they're doing, what they have going on, what they have coming up and all that. So we can share that. And even though Steve is more on the back side of things, he's still, he sees what they're doing because he's in their sites all the time. So he knows that,
And I want to find out what he's doing now for sure, but I would love to hear about let's maybe go back to those first few months. How did you know, we'll kind of change gears here. How did you know, or how did you integrate him in the business? Did you just have him kind of just do the dev stuff and the back end stuff and not talk to clients and then gradually bring him in? What did those first few months look like for you?
Yeah. So we're very fortunate in that within this relationship, but the business, what our skills are and what our knowledge and our experience is, we're very fortunate that it's very distinct. So there's a breaking point, or there's a clean break. So he has all this IT experience, very technically can go in to the nitty gritty of things and figure out what's going on or what needs. And if he knows exactly what to, go to Google for, to search or whatever, to figure things out. Where me, I got I can kind of go a little bit that way, but it stops very quickly. And I go, okay, I can figure more of the technology out with, connecting different platforms and figuring things out design wise within the site and all of that kind of stuff. So that was easy for us to say, okay, so getting him into Flywheel, was crucial. And so he logged in, we talked to Flywheel, he got his own login, all of that stuff. And so he got in there looking around, going in sites. And at that time I was using Managed WP, and I learned, I was in this bubble of really absorbing and learning all I could about doing the business part of designing a website for a client. Because
as well, you should have been at that point. Tough. Somebody's got to run the business and
it was tough.
Do that.
So I just wanted Steve to just do this, get in here and learn as much as you can about WordPress. He'd never really been in the WordPress dashboard and looked at plugins and he doesn't really get too much into Divi. He knows just enough to kind of like maybe troubleshoot a little bit, but other than that, he just focused on that. And then I just continued what I was doing with that off my plate.
Gotcha. So, now, were you guys committed, which by the way, that's awesome. When you talk about complementary strengths, that's a biggie. So. That is awesome. Whether it's a marriage and you work together or whether it is just a business partner or a team, you definitely want to surround yourself with people who are either better at you than other things, or they have the desire to do those kind of things.
I think that's what makes it really work. For us, one of the things that makes it we've been married for so long, I mean, we kind of know when to leave each other alone, and we know that's a whole nother,
I want to get to that. I'm fascinated by that. I want to get to that. So let's get to there here next. But so you kind of integrate him the first few months. Has he kind of not leveled up, but does he talk to clients now? And does he have a bit of a different role? Like, did his role kind of expand as he got more used to WordPress and the tech side of things and managed WP? What did that look like? The kind of the next phase of the journey? The
next phase was that as he was getting more familiar with the tech side of the websites and just the managing that piece and within Flywheel, we found that we were very dependent on Flywheel for a lot of things.
Limited.
We were limited. We kept having to now I'm not knocking them at all, but we kept having to reach out and can you adjust this? This site there's a bug here. And it was all because of the resources, not to get too technical because this is where my limit is. But because of the resources that you're allowed for each website on a server that we're on, we kept having to. And so I asked him, could you manage your own server? And because I had been doing a little research on the side, and I said, can you manage your own server? Or can you manage a server that we have?
Yeah.
And he, without hesitation, said, yeah, let's do it. So,
which you probably would never have felt comfortable to do that on your own, right? That's where not
been the technical and with the knowledge and the skills that he has, I wouldn't have felt comfortable, and I wouldn't have been able to do it on my own. Absolutely. So, he said, yeah, let's go for it. So we went to Liquid Web
That's right.
in I would say middle of February.
In 2021.
Yep. So not quite a year. And we've got our own dedicated cloud server. It's like our gated community.
That's awesome.
We flipping love it.
Yeah.
We absolutely love it. And this is where Steve has leveled up, came really through, because it was not an easy feat moving our clients from Flywheel to Liquid Web. I mean, that was a big move. And we had to let them know why and the benefits, because it's a big move. But
and does he jump in? I'm sorry, Lisa, does he jump in with support or tech questions with clients, or are you still the primary contact for clients?
I'm still the primary contact. There's not a lot of technical questions or support in that respect. A lot of our clients, they don't want any part of it. They just want to know that their site's good, everything's working, everything's cool. Updates are done. Most of our clients don't even get into their website. So, it's great. So there's not a lot of, he will often send emails, an email to clients. We send a lot of emails, if there's a virus coming out, or we just recently, just over Christmas, actually Christmas Eve, realized that we had this something was hitting our websites and taking them down. And we have Uptime Robot. So Steve was getting all of these notifications, like it's down, it's up. And then a couple hours later, websites, and it wasn't just one, all down, all back up. It was very like, what the heck?
Perfect timing. That stuff always happens on like Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Oh,
and so, so it was over Christmas Day. And then a couple of days after that, he was figuring out what was going on. And to say that we manage our own server, like Liquid Web is great support. But you have a lot to, he had to go in and
you assume a little more responsibility.
Exactly. But it's so empowering at the same time because, you don't have to worry about someone else doing something and then waiting and all of that. Like,
Yeah. If you're an IT guy or an IT gal and you're comfortable with that, there's nothing worse than like waiting to hear back from support. Or if they're like, thank you for submitting a ticket, you are fifth in the queue. It's like, oh, so there is a lot of benefit to that.
And that's a benefit that we give our clients is like, we're your support. Like we have the means to do at a moment's notice what you need.
Right. So, well, and how nice for you, Lisa, that Steve was there alongside you with this, because there's nothing worse than when you go through technical issues and it's all on you. Like to have somebody else, even just sharing the load with somebody, even if it actually doesn't, save you any actual time, there's something about somebody else sharing the load that just, frees up your head a little bit more. So that's really cool. That's awesome. So you guys, at this point, you've refined your services. You've refined what you do with hosting, which is, I know, a big part of your business. You hinted on it a little bit ago with, the personality aspect of this and the moods and living together. I have a lot of questions on this. Let's just dive into it while we're here.
Okay.
You guys know each other pretty well. So you go through tech stuff. Everyone has good days and bad days. How do you guys manage that? Do you know when to, like what buttons just piss him off and you're not going to touch and him for you? Like, how does that work? How does that work? Because when you're running a business, there are stresses that come into play. And how do you, it's kind of an open-ended question, but how have you found to manage that with Steve and for him, for you as well?
Yeah, so it's definitely been a ride. There's never been a point where like, oh, wish I wouldn't have done this, or, oh, I could do this, this isn't working. Or there's never been that. It's been really how, and this is part of me kind of, I don't want to say giving up control, but like just kind of knowing that we have these two pillars of the business, which is, I'm more of the face, the front end, which is client and social and getting in and talking and all of that. And then, which they're both so important. And so it's been this just really understanding what the roles that we play in the business. And so there are times when one thing that helps us, let's back up. One thing that helps us is that we he's more a night owl and I'm more a morning person.
Oh, okay.
So it really does. And we're empty nesters. We're both in our early 50s and it's just us and our two cats, and we're looking forward to getting a dog when we get our nice little house and we want to travel in our RV and work from everywhere.
Yes.
And that's our goal.
Yeah.
And so,
and you're on your way too, Lisa. We don't have to talk numbers, but you guys over doubled your income, your revenue of last year. So,
and it's all because we've been able to split up this, to really know our roles and respect each other's roles, because I wouldn't be able to do what I do. I spend time learning. I'm diving into, I'm obsessed with Pinterest right now. And I'm really marketing and blogging and I wouldn't be able to do that if he wasn't really picking up his pace. And we've got, all of this going on. So it's really respecting each other's space. And there has been some moments where I've had to really open up and say, look, when I'm really into a design, because I kind of follow your with design time, like deep work time. And I found that that's been really helpful for me, is especially when I'm designing, whether it be a landing page that a client needs, or whether it's a full website project where we haven't launched yet. So whatever it is, I need to be in it, and get the feeling and be.
Yeah. Well, you enter that flow state when your creativity is going, that needs to be protected. Yeah.
And so you can't tell, like, I'm the windows, but the door is in front of me here.
Okay.
Well, his computer is right on the other side of mine. So right behind mine.
I did. Because I didn't think you guys shared an office. I thought he was in a different room or something. Or
no,
is he?
We shared an office. Oh no,
he's just on the other side.
We're at the same table. We've got like we've got like 2 folding tables pushed together with some, like a pretty plywood.
Nice.
On top of it with like our stuff, so that, because we're in like a bedroom, like a spare room. So his computer's on the other side of mine. Okay. And so I've got my 27-inch Mac, so I can't see behind me, which is great.
Gotcha. Yeah.
There's no way that we could work side by side. So
that's a good point. I could see that being very distracting.
Yeah.
So side by side situation.
Layout of how we work together. Now it might be different for another couple, and this is specifically for husband and wife, right? Because if I got a business partner, we may work during the day and then go our separate ways in the evening or something, but
exactly
24/7.
Right. Well, and that's where with you guys having you said it a little bit ago, Lisa, you're more of a morning person. He's more of a night owl. So I imagine you're not sitting across from each other 8 hours a day working. No, I imagine it's maybe a few hours. It sounds like where you're
there are some days where it does overlap. Like maybe he's in there, he's checking a lot of things. Cause once a month he'll go in, we use main WP now. Okay. And with Liquid Web, and he's had to, especially in the beginning, it was a good 4-month period from February till this past February through February, March, April, May, June, through a good 4 months that he was just in the office day and night, basically, because it was cultivating a server. It was making sure settings and PHP and all of this stuff,
Gotcha. So you probably hear him. He's probably across from you grumbling and cussing.
Yes. He's like, are you okay? Do you need it? He would work to the wee hours of the morning, in the night. And so,
but I'm sure all the struggles that you face with server stuff, you're like, oh, I know that grunt. I know that grin.
Exactly. Yeah. But that really set the platform for us to, for him to really get into this groove. And so there are days when we're in the office for a few hours together, but we're often, getting up and just taking a break or whatever, or he does a lot of server work and updates and maintenance stuff at night where I'm already in bed. And so
gotcha.
I'm an early bed person, usually by 10:30 or so, I'm in bed. And
so it's almost like having a business partner who is in Europe or something. They're working, nighttime, you're in bed and they're working early in the morning or something.
Yeah. So I get I have my morning time. I read, I meditate, and I do, I'm kind of just get my day started, but I get a lot done in the morning. And before he's even ready to come sit in the office and do something, it's like noon or 1 for him.
So do you do a lot of your creative and deep work before he comes in the office often?
No, or does it sometimes I'll just have to tell him, just even if he does come in, it's just don't, because there were times when he would, come in and want to ask me something or whatever, and he'd stand next to me. This is kind of funny, but we had to work through this because he'd stand there and I'm doing, and I'd go, yes.
What? Don't bother me.
What? Yeah. Can you talk for a minute? Okay. So we really had to establish that. And now I just let him know, look, I'm going to be into so-and-so's website for a few hours. Just let me turn on my music.
You know what you could do, Lisa? You could have literally a sign or something that's I'm in deep work mode. Don't talk to me. I thought about putting, I generally tell Emily, I tell her before this, I was like, all right, I've got a podcast at 11, girlies. my wife's going to have the girls in a different part of the house. So luckily we're in the new build that we're building right now. It'll be a lot easier to manage that because it's a little more space. The girls won't be. My daughter's nursery is just on the other side of this current office. So they're always running out there. But I told her podcast time, which means try to keep the girlies away for at least an hour or so.
Yeah.
Although in your case, if somebody's like in the room, I would have like a little sign or a little, flashing red light or something that's like the signal. And I don't know how Steve will feel about that. But what's interesting about this, Lisa, is you guys are essentially dealing with what a lot of corporate professionals have to deal with. And that's why they made cubicles, because they're sectioned off. That's why a lot of open concept people, I know, I'm sure some people love open concept. I don't know if I would like it that much because I don't want somebody's open monitor right here. I don't want that. I kind of like having my own little, in a weird way, I never thought I would enjoy a cubicle, but I would almost prefer that over just a bunch of monitors that are all open right there. So you guys are kind of
side by side. Like I couldn't do that. That would be too distracting. And so this is when we would like our smaller house, but we do want at some point a separate office, like the she shed or the sheds that you kind of redo into offices. You see them all the time, but we do want something like that where we can have a separate space from our living, because it can get a little dicey sometimes where, I have to really make myself go out of the room and things. But it's fine. We love what we do. So people go, oh, do you take the weekends off? Not really, because we just kind of take off during the week when we feel like it, Now,
what about, I want to get to that real quickly. So I'm curious about calls. Like, is he on the other side of your monitor right now? Or did you tell him I've got this massively popular podcast I'm going to be on with?
For this, I shut the door. I said, don't open the door. Okay. Don't bother me until I'm done. I said, you can put your ear to the door if you want. I don't care, but don't, come in. So, which now I'm thinking it wouldn't have been a big deal. He could open the door and I'd be fine. But, during when I have client calls, it doesn't really bother me. It's so natural now that, and some people may, if they're on a client call, I don't have intense, proposal sales calls, like corporate-y. So it's very down to earth, low key. So he can, we're often in the same room together.
Gotcha. And you were hitting on, how do you clock out from this? I want to talk about that next. I am curious real quick though. So you have your Mac, he has his computer. Do you guys have laptops, or do you have to go in your office to work? Because this is a biggie when it comes to working from home and working with your spouse. Yeah.
I have my desktop, my Mac desktop that I do 99% of so I come in here to do 99% of stuff. I do have a laptop. I don't use it that much because I don't really feel, unless it's just something that I'm kind of working on a little bit or whatever. I don't like to sit on the couch and work or sit somewhere else and work. I will often go to a coffee shop. Well, not lately, but I will go to a coffee shop and kind of just get out. But I really enjoy my space right here. I feel really good in my space. He has a laptop and it's connected, hooked up to a TV, like a monitor, a little bit smaller monitor than mine. So that's what he uses. Neither one of us really work outside of this office
That's great. That's the reason I asked that, is because with a husband and wife who work together, if you both are on your laptops constantly throughout the house, suddenly your entire life can be business. It can be email, tech support, creativity. It's it can be really scattered. That's one thing I'm actually getting a little more, I've got a little bit lax over the past couple of years with taking my laptop around the house and doing work elsewhere, just because it kind of depends on what's going on with the girls. And if they're, if I've got them for a little while and I can bust out a half an hour of work while we're all hanging out together, I might do that. I'm learning though, it's better for me just to come into my office to do the work and just save it, or go to a coffee shop. Because as we all know, when you're distracted and when you're managing quite a few things, you can work on something for a half an hour out in the living room that would take you 5 minutes. in your office. So yeah, I was just kind of curious how that worked for you. And I am curious, how do you guys turn it off? Because that's probably the question for this podcast. I'm so glad you asked
that question, because I was just thinking about, I've got to tell them like things that we do to kind of get out of this spinny businessy. There are seasons, there are moments where, periods of time where we're just, like I said, when we first switched to liquid web, we were both like, because I was talking to clients and it was like, So when we finally, kind of got into a groove, but we live in, like I said, we live in San Antonio now, and we're very close to, if anyone listening knows San Antonio, we're on the northwest side. So San Antonio is huge. And so we're on the northwest side, and we're very close to the hill country here. And
where is San Antonio in Texas? I actually don't know exactly.
It's deep in the heart of Texas.
Okay. I'm gonna look it up right now.
South of Austin. If you just go Austin, San Antonio, they go downtown to downtown. It's about an hour, but Austin's like an hour and a half from us. So, cause we're way on the west side of San Antonio.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We're near SeaWorld. Gosh,
I bet you guys have some really good tacos there.
We do. Yes, a lot too good. Too good. We have to, limit ours. There's everywhere you turn, there's somewhere to eat.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, if you're looking at San Antonio on a map, we're the northwest side. And if you go up to the northwest more, there's more of a hill country up. Bernie is the cowboy capital of the world, I think they say, but so it's very, the reason why I say this, we often will take off for a couple hours, just go for a drive, because we can go out, within, a 50-mile, one way, and kind of go all driving. And it feels like you're in a whole different part of this. You don't feel so close to San Antonio.
That's awesome.
We'll often just go out for a drive.
And do you do that during the day? Like,
yeah, we
is
do
that
during
common?
the day. Yep.
Okay.
We'll just go, hey, or what do you like today is Tuesday. We might go, well, what do we have going on tomorrow? Do you have any calls tomorrow? Do you got any, are you anything really major going on? No, let's go for a drive. So like, that's what I mean awesome. By, we don't necessarily take weekends off per se.
Yeah. Well, it's different because your guys is, you're working, it sounds like a little more in the mornings and throughout the afternoon. And then he's working more, I'd assume maybe afternoon, evenings. There's some overlap, but I'm sure you guys are kind of doing those work segments, right? It's not an 8-hour day. Yeah. It's segment segment here.
Yeah. And we take our time in the evening this is part of the turnoff time. I'm out of here unless I'm really working, unless I really have to. I'm out of here by 5:30, 6 o'clock out of my, I turn my computer, I put it to sleep, which I want to be more in the habit of turning it off, because I tend to put it to sleep because I have so many tabs and windows and things open. And I go, I don't feel like.
I am not an expert on this, so I want to be a little bit just full disclaimer, but I think it's harder on a computer to actually shut it off every night. I've heard it's actually better to go to sleep.
I'm going to look at that.
Yeah. So it might be worth checking out. If anyone knows, leave a comment on this podcast episode, because I would like to know for sure from the research I've done, because I used to do that. And then I actually have heard it's like when you're booting up from a shut off mode, it's harder on a computer rather than just letting it go to sleep and then shutting off like once every couple weeks or a few weeks. So
yeah, that's pretty much what I do. Like if we go out of town for some reason, go away for a few days, I will shut it down completely. But so I'm out, and we like our like animal shows. We watch zoo shows. We watch animal veterinary shows. We're Dr. Pimple Popper fan. Like, so we watch some reality TV. I call it reality TV, but we're not like the Bachelor reality.
Sure.
Like,
but you guys have your shows that you're watching and hanging out in between the work segments.
Like What's On Tonight? We watch the Irwins, the Irwins from Down Under. And so like, we watch those kind of things. And so we'll watch a show in the evening time, and then I'm winding down, and oftentimes he'll be coming back in the office to do, if it's update time or if there's something going on and he needs to adjust something on the server or whatever. So that's when he's coming in to do that.
Now, I'm curious, Lisa, how do you go from, and I know you guys have a work-life integration. How do you go from coworker and business partner to husband? Like, do you guys talk about business when you go on dates, and when you do these trips, do you guys talk business at all? Or do you try to make it kind of clear, like, let's just no business talk? Like, do you set boundaries like that?
We do for the most part. When we really enjoy going on a drive, and sometimes we'll see a new little place, or we'll drive by, there's all these little side roads, and we'll drive down I say side roads, but they're like country roads, but they're in there, it's land and houses. So we often will talk about our future and what we're striving for. Like, oh, we'd love to live there. Or that house is cute. Or I wonder how much that land is, or that we see on drives. And so that's really we don't get into nitty gritty of business. And unless that's specifically what we're leaving for. Because sometimes we do want to talk about things, but outside of the office, because we're in here so much. So we'll go to a coffee shop, or we'll go, on our drives, and maybe we'll just find a park and we'll just sit there or something, and we'll chat about stuff. But we are very good about turning it off, and especially evening times. I don't check my email when we're watching things, and or at nighttime, really. I'm not checking my emails, or I'm not talking work stuff. And neither is he. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
And you just said it. I think sometimes those drives and getting out of your office and out of your house, that's where some of the best vision type of ideas can come into play, is because you're out of your element. Personally, I don't like to write in this office. I don't generally I do creative work in here as far as design and a lot of interviews and editing and graphics and stuff. But if I'm writing, I like to get out. I like to go to a coffee shop or something. So that's definitely, and when it comes to vision and thinking about your business, I feel like your own office is the worst place to do that. It's always on a walk or a drive or something where the best ideas come from.
We went to, after, oh my gosh, Chris's training in the group. Why can't I think of his last name?
Badgett, Chris Badgett from Lifter. Yeah, Lifter MS.
After that, and about the business planning and and I took a lot of that, and we actually sat down last week. We went to breakfast, and we started just kind of laying out. And this is something as business owners for us that is new territory. So we're really, this year is a goal for both of us to, I want to say business minded in that sense, but thinking of this more as, I don't even want to say thinking of it more as a business, because we already do, but kind of having a pathway, or just kind of more of an extended vision, and just instead of just spinning the wheels and churning along.
From what I've seen, and obviously with you being in, this is why I love having the coaching community, the Web Design Club, because I get to chat with everyone on the regular. I've seen you go from working in the business to working on the business. And I think 2021 was your year to work on the business, bring Steve in, get all your systems in place. Now you're going to run and grow the business, which is really exciting. I've seen that transition in you, Lisa, which is really cool. You're you're becoming the business owner. And now, I mean, like I said earlier, you guys over doubled your income from the previous year. And I know we talked about your goal of doubling again. We're going to keep on doubling.
We're going to keep on doubling.
Keep on doubling. So now is your chance to focus. And now that you've got a lot of the stuff in place, now you can really grow and expand. You've gone through a lot of trainings. You've gone through a lot of my courses. You've gone through a lot of growth with bringing Steve in, and then the server stuff. You guys have refined your services. We haven't even talked about your brand other than the name, which is so cool. I actually feature, I think I told you I feature you in the new maintenance plan course, because your guys' brand is a lot around coffee, and your maintenance plans are tiered like latte, cappuccino. What's the espressos? Yeah, the top one. Yeah. So I love that. You guys have such a cool brand. So now it's time to go. You've got the place and stuff. Now you're going for it. Now, is Steve essentially full-time, or is it more of or do you guys even really look at it as part-time or full-time?
Yeah, we don't really look at full-time. This is what we both do. We're both building our vision, building this business. And But earlier this morning, I was like, okay, let me get into this Josh groove here. And I listened to your podcast this morning with Troy Dean.
Oh man, wasn't that good?
Oh my gosh, it was fabulous. I was like,
gosh.
Oh my gosh.
If anyone has not gone back and listened to episode 159 with Troy Dean, every question I had for him was followed by like a gold snippet.
Oh, it was huge. Yeah. It was your most recent one. It was just
at the time of recording this, it just released. So I think this one will probably come out sometime in February of 2022. Okay. So yeah.
This was the January 3rd. Yeah. This was your first one of the new year, because you were like kicking off the new year with a released podcast. So anyways, I listened to that just this morning, but it was even a shift for me now, because I've always said, we don't want to be an agency. We don't want to grow to have other team members, other people working with us. So, however, with that being said, I can see us this year, I do want some help for myself with helping me put out content. I write the content, helping me schedule, and that's a schedule is a Pinterest thing, but to help me more. And I can see us bringing in somebody specifically for a project here and there, but that's the way we want to be. Yeah, we don't need 100, 200, 300 clients.
Right.
We want a nice group of clientele. Clients, I say clients, but they're like our family. And that's what I try to get across on our website and on our messaging and on everything, is like, you're our family when you come in and work with, when we help you and we're doing this together. So
you position yourself to be like that too, just simply with your hosting and with your server setup, because it's like you guys handle everything for them. So it's much more than like, we're going to build you a website and, you can choose a GoDaddy plan and hope things go well. Like you guys are your control, you're, I know you give them access, but you are helping them through and through, month to month. So that's great. Like that's what's so cool about this. And, let's just be honest too with this, Lisa. There is a lot of power in a husband and wife duo for a business. Like that's really cool. I don't know if you thought about this, but a lot of small business owners love to support any sort of spouse teams. Like that's just really cool when they get
That's what we say. Like we're like a mom and pop. We're not going to go huge on you and forget about you. Like that's. So that's the kind of feel in the vibe that the
mom and pop web design agency. See, now we might have to talk about rebranding, because that is really cool. Something I would do. Can I put my coaching shoes on for you, Lisa, real quick, and just give you a suggestion?
Put them on, lace them up.
All right, they're laced up. Here we go. So you've got your about page that has a picture of you and Steve, and there's a YS section. I personally would really advertise that. That might be something I recommend you think about implementing in Q1 here for this year, is to maybe even on the front page, just have a little snippet that's very clear, husband and wife team here. Like, we have an extended network, an expanded network, but we are your two, Lisa is your primary contact. Steve does the scary, development stuff. We work together to bring your business to life, whatever you want to say. But I would really highlight that, because that is cool. And I don't know. I know
me better than you think I do. And I think you do. And you've got this nailed right on the head, because we're doing our first ever branding shoot.
Awesome.
Next week. We've got the date set. Hopefully the weather cooperates with us, because it's been getting a little chilly, but we're both of us, we're doing a branding shoot for us, coffee shop, the relax, the whole bit. So
awesome.
You will see that. That's so crazy that you said that, because that's our goal. I want to get us both on there. Steve's always said the one picture that we have on our about page right now together is like, we're at like this coffee shop, ironically, but it was a couple of years, 2 or 3 years ago for our anniversary. We went and stayed in an Airbnb, and we were in this little coffee shop, coffee tea kind of little shop. And that's that picture. So it's just like, and then it's just me and a couple other, my mom and I really want to elaborate a little bit more on the story there.
I like that. Yeah.
Because she's been a catalyst for a lot of this and has pointed me in this direction, and both of us as if I get a little woo woo, she made the car hit Steve so that we would make this decision already, this kind of thing. So I want to highlight that stuff. So I'm looking forward to the shoot, and, I've not had professional photography like that. We both. And so we're looking forward to it.
I can't wait to see those. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, didn't even need to say it because you're already on it. I should have assumed Lisa's already on it.
There's confirmation. I'm glad you did, because we are mom and pop, and we want to stay that way. Do we, are we reaching six figures, and a little beyond? Yeah, but we're not reaching for 1 million, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like,
Right. And that's what the episode you just referenced with Troy Dean, I thought for sure that he was going to talk about, Leah, let's get all your people making 7 figures. But he straight up said, like, you have to decide whether it's right for you to scale. And the beauty about web design now is, like you guys are doing, you refine your services, you refine what you do in-house, and then you can create the business you want to create. Like, if you guys know what you need to have a comfortable living with what your goals are, with having, I think your little home, right, is what you would call it.
Yeah,
what you guys
say tiny home, but a little more than tiny. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it's a small, maybe smaller home. It's not the tiny, but it's a small, So you want that, you figure out how much you're going to need to support that, support some travel, support your lifestyle if you guys want to give or whatever you want to do, and like who you want to support. And then there's your bottom end there. That's what you need to hit. And now you figure out, okay, how much profit do we want to have in the business? Do we want to do any sort of hiring elsewhere to bring some people to help out? Do you want to have more room for ads or anything like that? And you can figure out your marketing efforts. And there you go. That's the basis of the business plan, which I know you guys are doing. So
with the club, it's just been a godsend. It's just been a saving. I mean, I've met so many great people that, we talk outside of, just on our own. And so it's just so amazing. And just the support, like the people that, that you can count on for that little bit of support. I need help with this little piece or something. And it's not like you've got to go out and search and hire somebody that you don't know for help.
Or ask in a Facebook group of 24,000 people. And you're like, what am I going to get here?
I'm not in Facebook much anymore, but it's really settling in and being comfortable with it. And we both have this vision, and it's really right in this navigating this, how we're going to best support each other to get there. And I'm encouraging Steve to write more for our blog on the technical piece, because that's a piece that we want to educate, we want to help, you make the decision, whether if you read something about hosting or something, your email and hosting, keep them separate, just something, whatever. If you're reading something about that and you don't choose us, that's fine. But if it helps you to grow your business, then okay, great.
Now, what have you seen in Steve? What changes have you seen in him since he joined the business and now he's integrated in this with you?
More confidence. That's the first thing that came to mind. More confidence in not what he knows, like not the technical, but just being able to see it through. And more confidence in himself that, I've got this, and I've got because in the beginning, especially when we switched to, after we were all said and done with Liquid Web, I was, so probably 4 or 5 months ago, I was like, when exactly do you do updates? When exactly are you managing that? What are you doing? Like, because there was no, like, every Wednesday I'm doing this. He's like, I have my schedule, and every Wednesday I'm not, because updates they kind of come in waves. And, when you're updating plugins and WordPress and the theme, and when you're managing stuff, you got to kind of do it when there's a need. And so, he explained it all, but it's more confidence in doing what he's doing. And it's given me confidence to go forth and do what I can do.
Yeah. Well, and look, let's just be honest, Lisa, you guys could not have doubled your income in 2021 had you not been freed up to do what you do, and to learn and to grow and to expand your network.
Right.
Yeah. So
I've been able to spend some more time learning and just focusing on the particular aspect of what I want to help, and helping clients, and not just learning myself, but the clients that we already have, helping them and serving them more.
Yeah.
So that's
awesome.
been a big piece for me too. So
you guys have such a cool story. Like, I don't think you know how cool this is. I mean, I'm sure you recognize that it's pretty cool, but it is really cool. I mean, before we went live, we were talking, I know there's a couple other folks in the club who, if their spouse isn't working full-time with them, like you guys are, they're somewhat integrated in the business. Obviously our good dev friend, Christian, who's been on the podcast, his wife is not in the business, but they actually do work beside each other, which is kind of interesting because she's on a remote position. So we've heard her in the background of some of his chats, which is classic. And she's got her Brazilian accent and stuff. But I say that to say there's all these different, avenues for working with your spouse or your significant other. And you can really make it what you want, which you guys have done. I'm seeing, Lisa, I'm kind of half joking when I say this, because you guys could do like a promo piece for a local newspaper or local, video, I don't know, TV station or something. Once you get your new pictures, that's like couple in early 50s, start a web design business together and travel. And, I don't know, that could be really cool. Like, it could be a really cool feature piece to see how you guys work together and what you've done. I think it's awesome.
That's, wow, that's really cool. Thank you very much for that, because sometimes we don't see what's right in front of us,
How many married couples in their early 50s go into business together and then start planning their new life of traveling and smaller home, whatever they want to do? That's not very common. I mean, that's more like you get, you retire at 67 or whatever it is. And then,
we plan to do, there's no like, oh, we're going to do this for 10 more years and then sayonara. Like, no, there's no chance. We love what, it may shift. In the 3 years, almost 3 years, we haven't really shifted a lot the year, like as far as what we serve, we're just web design and marketing in the health and wellness space.
Yeah.
And I say marketing because with our clients only, we have some additional services that I really help them with. And so, but we see ourselves doing it for a while.
For the long haul. Yeah. That's the big thing too. I know you guys aren't creating a business to sell in 5 years and hope that, carries you over through retirement. It's like, you got what you're doing right now, which is really cool, is you're laying the foundation for something to build for years, maybe decades. And then in 10 years, if you want to scale things down or just focus on the clients you have, or just refine your services to where it's a very more easygoing and chill type of, small team, that's what you can do. I'm excited for you, Lisa, because now it's like the sky is the limit with whatever you want to do. You can make this thing as complex or as simple as you want. And I know your area, I think most people listening to this podcast err on the side of a balanced, non-hustle style of work. And there are seasons. Whenever I talk about not hustling, I don't mean like every day is just a chill entrepreneur day. There are days and there are seasons where you're working really hard, like you guys did when you switched to Liquid Web. You have some oopsie days on Christmas Eve. I have times where I'm like heavy into building a course and I'm working a lot. But then there are, like, December was a super soft month for me, to where I was working maybe 20 hours a week at most. So, you can kind of craft what you want to do moving forward, which is super exciting.
Yeah. And I've put some of that in, for me, because I'm in the business, I'm more talking to clients, reaching out, emailing and things, we have gotten back into, I have a little bit more of email marketing and, just kind of really niching down and just that kind of thing. And so I have some of that in place where I try to do certain things on certain days. And I do have some, like, I don't take client calls on Monday and Friday. So
awesome.
Those kind of things. And they know that, I may email them back on the weekend, but I may not. They know that if they email at certain times that, and asking me something or whatever, that I may or may not. It just depends on what I'm doing. So I don't have a hard, fast cutoff times and things like that. So
I meant to ask, when it comes to sales and calls and stuff, do you bring Steve on for any of that? Like, are there any times where he needs to be included, or is it all you?
We do have in the process now about this whole 2021, getting everything set. We do have that when I do bring on a client, I'm doing all the beginning things. We use Notion. That's a whole nother topic, but it's for our shared like to-dos and things like that, tasks. And I do put in there like send so-and-so an introductory email.
Gotcha.
And so he sends an email introducing what he does and just, so they know, they know talking to me what he does, but
they know Steve's there doing it, which again is the spouse thing is just really cool because they know Lisa's primary contact, but Steve's there too. And that is so powerful for clients to support a husband and wife team. Like even when I just had Emily doing just basic stuff and sending reports, she would sign off with her name and people would know like, oh, this report came from Josh's wife, who's helping out with the business as well. It just adds a different dynamic, which is, I think that breeds more loyalty. It instills a little more trust because now there are two people who are husband and wife together in this. So there's a lot of really cool things about this. It's
really cool because they know that if they email me or I don't really get any texts at all, very few, unless it's like a legit emergency, like, texting me something, but they know that if they reach out to me and that it'll get to Steve if it needs to, or they'll just email both of us. They'll just, both of us will be on the email. And so, hey, Lisa, Steve, whichever one of you wants to, can do this or whatever. So it really is a nice meshed relationship with our clients. Yeah. Yeah. And we ultimately we have a daughter. She'll be 25 in a couple of weeks. And we want to have like land in our house and that to leave her. And that's part of our pusher, our driver is that we want something that she can grab a hold of, and now we're getting into some really cool territory with like thinking about goals as a family and with Steve in the business. That like he understands probably like what you guys need to do. He may be more understanding of your like creative time and your deep work segments. And, if there's times where you're hustling, but he wants to hang out, he probably recognizes, well, if she's in there, burning the midnight oil right now, there's a reason for it. So that's what's really cool. Yeah. With him, he is very understanding of because there are, I would say, more times that I need to, or I don't, like I'm into something, then I don't say more times, but it's just different. And he is very understanding on, I need this time. Like you said, if I'm burning the midnight oil, there are some times where I'm in here till 10 or 11 and he'll go, all right, come in here. Are you okay? Like, it's like, yes, I'm so obsessed with this right now. Like this whole Pinterest marketing thing has just got me just like, this is our ticket. Cause I'm an introvert. Like, it's a search engine and I'm like SEO, Google, Pinterest.
Yeah. Cause you guys aren't doing any like networking together or anything like that.
No, we don't really have a local presence. And that is something that I'm interested in, maybe reaching out to some health and wellness, more brick and mortar locally. But
I would definitely do that.
It's not a huge, maybe the branding shoot, of course, is a young lady that is here in San Antonio that we met on Instagram. So that was really cool. So there's a lot of paths we can kind of take and go, but we're very understanding of each other's time and also reminding each other that we need to take some time away too.
Right. I was wondering about that, particularly with this kind of setup, it probably is really difficult to take a full week off or go on vacation or.
It is. And like we went away for our anniversary and we went away on Thanksgiving week for a few days. We had a voucher to a casino that we were able to go there for literally gas money and stay in Oklahoma. So that was really cool. It was just a fun trip, but we went away for our anniversary and of course I let clients know and, they know that we're going, but even though I'm not on and doing any design work, they know that we have their back with their website. Like Steve is still getting alerts if your website goes down, like,
Yeah.
still just kind of checks everything out. So some people may say, well, that's not really time away. And I go, well, it is for us because we enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and also I think a lot of people who aren't in this world or who are maybe in a 9-to-5 corporate position that they just hate, it's like that week off is the best week of the year. And I love vacation, but we have crafted, you and I in our different businesses have crafted a life that we don't, I feel like, need a total break from, which is awesome. Like
awesome.
sometimes over Christmas break, I was like itching to get back. I was like, okay, I love my babies. I love being a dad, but I also love doing this kind of stuff, and it doesn't stress me out day to day.
Yeah.
I mean, there are stressful things every once in a while, but you guys are in that process right now where you're refining and creating a life that you don't need a huge break from, which is awesome.
Right. And there may be a day where we might have a backup that, hey, can you manage our server and sites while we're gone for a few days? There may be a time, for that we can kind of, get somebody to help us like that in those times. But yeah, for the most part, it's really keeping each other in check as far as making sure that we have our together husband-wife time, and then knowing and understanding and respecting that time where maybe I have to be in this or he has to be in, something.
Yeah.
So
I have to ask about this before we wrap this up here, because I meant to ask this earlier. We had both talked about two of our clients who had passed away. I don't want to end off on this note by any means, but I mean, the question becomes, okay, if it's a husband and wife duo, you guys are in a car together and something happens, what happens to the business? What happens to the clients? Are you guys working through any sort of worst case scenario kind of thing? If something like that happens, have you thought about that?
That event pretty much set us, and what I had, not what I had to, what I wanted to, and what I got to help the family with during that time made us really think about our own and who has access to things. I mean, when you really sit down and think how many passwords you have and how many tools that you use and how many things, it's like, holy crap, if somebody were to, so, thankfully, our daughter can manage, do a lot of that, techie savvy, can do a lot of, but we don't have someone. But it really made us think, because this particular client was very well known in the hypnosis space and had a lot of things, but I had access to 90% of the things that she had going on, as far as that we needed to wrap up and tie up and cancel and move and things.
Gotcha.
I was really able to, and I was so grateful that they didn't have, because they didn't have any of it. So I was just like, wow, this is really important. So we are thinking about how we can condense things together and do that, because it is something to think about. But all our clients
especially
have their login, they have their WordPress login. It is worth giving it to them again, making sure that they have everything that they need, and they know who we're hosted, where our server is, and that they can, so they have that particular access already. So, yeah.
Gotcha. I just bring that up because it's important in all businesses, even with mine being a personal brand, but especially with a spouse kind of arrangement, that is something to definitely have in place. I mean, and it can be as simple as some sort of protected Google Doc or something that just has all the main passwords and a spreadsheet with all the logins, the main tools. And then you can use LastPass or was it 1Password or any other of these?
1Password.
1Password. Yeah. So you could use that to keep track of all your client logins. And that way, God forbid something happened.
Someone's Google Workspace, you have my Google Workspace, and that pretty much gives you access to all kinds of things. So, yeah. That's cool. It's something to think about, but we really enjoy just to kind of, we just enjoy working together, and, there's some bumps and there's some, nuances that you just work through. And I guess, what I think though, I guess if I could say anything about our working relationship, is it stems from our marriage. I mean, if you've got shit going on in your marriage, you're probably not going to be able to be as successful or work as well together in the business. So like they both work together, and, we're not all, everything's not all peachy and espresso coffee, every day.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing. Like if you're in a big marital fight, and then, some people can get to go to the office and they can worry about that when they go home at 6. But when you're integrated and working from home, it's like, he's right there, you're right there. I'm sure there has to be a whole another level of like, we got to turn this off. We can come back to this later. We got to turn this off for now.
Yeah. Or it's like, okay, let's just go for a drive. And let's just figure this out if that time is available. So whatever. But yeah, you just work through it. And so it's the personal, it's the business, and making that all work. It's a beautiful thing though. Like we truly, truly enjoy. And it's what we had really thought about years ago, but we didn't know how it would work. We didn't know how it was going to come together. Years ago. So.
Well, I have one final question for you, Lisa. Where would you like everyone to go to check you out, though? Do you want everyone listening just to check out the website, or is there a certain resource?
Check out the website, joliedesignsolutions.com. Yeah, it's gone through a lot of iterations, but finally now it's good. I mean, there's minor little tweaks and things that I make to it because I'm just finding that sweet spot. But web designer's website is never done. A website is never done, and definitely a website is never done. Right. I'm redesigning a client's now because she's shifted, and so we're like redoing things. But anyways, that's in. Just everything is there. We have a menu of services that a coffee shop. So, and
obviously everyone in my maintenance plan course, you'll see Lisa's maintenance plan care page with their tiers. Super cool.
Because that's the only course, one of the only courses that I haven't taken of yours because.
Oh, I thought you were in that one. No kidding.
No, at the time I already had that set. Like it just hasn't worked like in the trajectory of the business. Like it just hasn't been a player. And so, so I haven't seen our little.
Well, Steve in particular probably loved the update stuff, the update kind of stuff I go through and all that stuff. I mean, you guys have a great hold on your plan, but definitely would love to help you guys even more if interested at any point this year.
I'm sure there's little nuggets in there that we haven't thought about.
There's chicken thighs in there. There's wings and thighs in there. Yeah. See, if I had a website brand, it would be based around chicken wings. Probably, I would have wing thigh or something on there.
I really enjoy our site and what we're doing. We're putting more on the blog, and we're going to have I reached out to one of our club members, Adela, and she's going to do a guest post for us on digital strategy. And so I'm just kind of like reaching out that way, and Steve's going to write more. Well,
Lisa, it's been really awesome getting to know you better and seeing your journey progress, even just in the time since you were a founding member of the club, just over a year now. So to see what you guys are up to is awesome. And I can't wait to see what you guys do in 2022. There's the rhyme for the day. My last question for you is, where do you see yourself at the end of 2022? As far as do you think you'll have your home by then?
I do.
You're going to have the plan?
Our home, whether it's on land or we may be in an RV, in an RV park temporarily, like an RV park where you can stay long term, we may just decide to do a larger RV, park it and live in that for a while, but we'll be in something. By the end of this year.
Let's make it clear. Lisa's dream is not a trailer park. It is the RV park. Dream bigger, Lisa.
It's not a trailer. It's our own RV, and one that may need a little sprucing up because that'd be fun to do. But yeah,
Suzanne, who was in the club for a while, she is a remote traveler in her little Sprinter. There's David Blackman of Divvy Space. He is a big RV guy, and Corey, his partner, RV guys, and they just travel.
There's so many places to see here in the U.S. And a lot of places we have seen, but we haven't been to the Northwest, and the Northwest or Northeast. Really, we haven't been to. So like, we really want to just travel and have our space. So we'll have something by the end of this year, and just be in a really comfortable client space and helping, our smaller to medium businesses and helping them grow, they,
love that.
Yeah. Super fun.
Awesome, Lisa. Well, if you come through Columbus, coffee on me for both of you guys.
Absolutely. One of the first places we have a great client lives up in Wisconsin in Door County, way up north of Green Bay. And I'm like, well, you won't see me during these months, but I'll come during
right. Yeah. Go through there. You can come through Columbus now. We don't have any snow right now, but Wisconsin, that's a whole different ballgame.
I'm a Michigan born and bred, so I know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I know. So I just thank you so much for everything. And this has been on my bucket list, honestly, and I just threw it out there in a casual email like a month or so ago. And you're like, hey, I'm like, wait a second. So I just appreciate the time and the effort and the generosity you have in the club, and just you. And I love it. So
thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate that. And when you mentioned, I forget how you phrased it, just that if we ever wanted to talk about, your guys just set up as a spouse business, I was like, absolutely. I would love to chat about that, because we really haven't on the podcast at this point. So thank you for sharing.
Good insight on it.
It was great. Yeah. A lot of great stuff in there about, how to manage your workflows and integrate a spouse in, and then figuring out those tasks, figuring out those roles, work-life balance, getting out of the house, whether in the same room, how you position your office is really interesting. How you get through those, seasons of, things are going well in the marriage, and maybe you're in a fight and you got to just, put that on hold for a second. There's a lot of interesting stuff in there.
And I'm really happy to talk to people too, or even to glean some insight on their situation. Like if there's anyone, that just contact me through the website, I guess, and
there you go. There's the call to action for everybody. If you are interested in having a spouse arrangement in your business, hit up Lisa, and there you go. JolieDesignSolutions.com and hit her up.
My email is Lisa@Jolie. It's not that. So, just even an email, but I would love to meet more people that are doing what we're doing. So
there's your
age. I don't want to say we're old, but like, it's not, you don't hear it. Like we're literally just starting here, and we're 50.
Well, I could see you even in particular, almost having like your own little circle community of spouse business workers together. So that could be pretty cool. I know you have a lot of passion for that. So I'm
open. So like, that'd be really cool. That'd be cool. Thanks so much, John. I'm ecstatic. This is really fun.
Well, we're doing the club Q&A here in a couple hours. Are you able to join for that one?
Yes, I'll be around for that one. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I might bring you on. We can chat about this. So thanks for joining.
Yeah. See, I'm still.
You're already together. Yeah, I'll bring you on. I'll bring you on for a hot seat in the club while you're all dressed up. So, Lisa, thank you for your time on this.
Thank you so much.
I'll see you in a couple hours.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Josh.
Hey guys and gals, just wanted to pop in with a couple things before you head out. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to this podcast. I would love to hear your feedback, and it will also help other web designers find the show. Be sure to check out the show notes for this episode. Just go to joshhall.co, click on podcasts, and search this episode number, and you'll find all the links, descriptions, and resources we talked about. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, and you'll be notified when the next episode is live. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode.